And now we have heard about the truth about Rihimaki. That Rihimaki is a nice place when you are asleep, but when you wake up, the harsh reality will slap you in the face. So we are back again. I have actually been in Rihimaki for something like 4.5 months of my life. I was doing a part of my military service in Rihimaki, and it was not a nice place. And we are getting 3-bet with ace deuce suited. We are not having a decent enough hand to call it. And even though we are having a middling hand, I chose to continuation bet there. I think it's something that's up for a debate if c betting is good here or not. There are some spades and there are some hands that I don't like, but like we are not getting any ace to fold. And even with better kings it may be hard, so it's like an icky spot. Again, like that has been the theme of the day.
I have weird news for you.
Rihimaki is not the paradise on earth.
Surprise! I checked that Arisa Cox, and that was the first time that no one has said that I look like a dark shaded lady, and that was surprising. But yeah, I think you need to have that afro. Alright, I need to have that afro to look like her, more like her. But it was surprising.
Vernon backs. It's there is a mandatory military service for Finns. It's not, and we are going to be re-raising him because he has been betting all the time post flop, and he has been playing very aggressively, and he has been playing really aggressively, and this is a bluff. Of course, I don't respect his game to that great of an extent, so I haven't had enough hands on him. So before I have enough hands on him, I'm going to think him as a random. Yeah, it's the Finnish military service is going to be 6, 9 or 12 months if you are doing the military service. You can also do 11 months as a military service with no weapons, and then there is also an option for civil service, and then you are doing, I think it's going to be 12 months as a civil servant. That's a non-military option. Civil service is now 9 months. That would be a surprise. It wasn't when I was there, or I was in the military service, and I was for 1 year. So I did it the long way around.
But you didn't do the civil service.
I didn't do the civil service. I did the longest version of the military service.
I think it has changed quite a few times during the last 15 years.
When my father was in the military, then it was 8 and 11 months were the options. And in Estonian army, it's still going to be the 8 or 11 months that are the options for the military service. I think that's quite interesting that they have modeled it quite after the Finnish system. And Julos Pro says that jail is also an option, so you can refuse to serve in civil or military service, and then you are being in jail. I can't even remember how long, but it's not something that people do that often when civil service is an option as well.
Kauri says that wife and kids are the same than jail. That's not very nice.
And yeah, that Hoitu says that take the legendary sea paper. I think that if you are aiming for the sea, you just need to like get there twice and be totally and this is something that I didn't want to happen, and this is exactly like Ace Jack suited is a really hard hand to play. Like against Flesh Killer, no matter how hard he would have bet here, I would need to go, and I was surprised that he played only King 8 off. If I would have known that, I would have been going all in there, but that was really a surprise.
Yeah, I thought that he must have something better than that, because there is always a risk that you have something better and then he's in a really, really bad shape if you are calling. And I think that your betting size was that you were really committed to that big blind as well. So if he had shoved, you would have called that immediately. So you cannot have like really crap hand anyway.
Yeah, and Julos Pro said that when you serve somehow, government pays for your rent and also gives you something like 5 to 10 euros a day. Yeah, so and this guy has been a pain in the, I won't even say where. And when he has like opened every hand, it's going to be profitable, but it's going to be like a huge variance move when we are having 1/10 of the chips already in our stack. We are having an ace blocker here. Our hand is crappy because every hand he calls with, we are going to be screwed. But it's going to be less likely that he's having a calling hand when we are holding one ace. And Julos Project, I've got a feeling that this sentence isn't a great one grammar-wise. That's like pretty much the same that I have been feeling for the whole coaching session. Like this is not going to be really nice grammar-wise, but just let's make it happen.
Let's just talk. Oh, he claims he folded ace queen, but I doubt that. No way.
Yeah.
No way.
And Kauris, if I win today too much, maybe you buy a second Saab. Yeah, when it's going to be summertime, perhaps I need to buy a Saab that I can drive top down.
That would be awesome. But then I would need to wear a wig all the time because my real hair is not gonna stand that constant wind when we are driving through Estonia. That would be nice though.
And Vernon Pax, I think that it's also a bit different in Canada. Like your only neighbor is United States, and there's practically no possibility of invasion by land, so you'll need a way smaller army to defend yourself and mostly just to coordinate your defenses with the US if you don't get into a war about something stupid like who keeps Justin Bieber or It can happen.
It could happen. It should happen.
But I don't think in Finland that we are going to get rid of the mandatory military service because Russia is the Finnish neighbor, and because Russia is Finnish neighbor, they are something that you really never know how it's going to be with Russia, and I think we are seeing some of that in the Ukraine, that you can never trust Russia, and that's going to be an issue.
It was funny when a couple of days ago someone said on our Finnish chat that are me and Aarnimetsa afraid that Russia is going to go to Baltic countries, Estonia, Lithuania and Latvia for the next targets after Ukraine, and then you just said that, well, we are now living in a country that is part of not
North American or North Atlantic, actually. North Atlantic.
What it's shortened from?
Well, the NATO, the defense cooperative, that includes pretty much half of the world. That doesn't include China and Russia.
And Finland.
And Finland.
So are you afraid? And they have had some kind of checking flights in Estonia by American those fast speed aircrafts, whatever, like close to the Russian border. Pardon my knowledge on that.
Yeah, I think you will have enough knowledge to be a special expert in the Finnish television. Like that could be pretty much like our defense minister is someone that has not served a military service. He has been a civil servant, and I don't know if that's, or actually my opinion is that it's not a good thing, and it's something like you really should have some experience or
True. It was treaty organization. I couldn't just remember, or maybe I didn't even know that it was North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It was always just NATO.
Yeah, you'll never see it spelled out in any Finnish magazine or...
Nope. Then I just draw quite blank. I couldn't get even any fighting words in starting with T.
And the really fast planes that USA has situated in Estonia, they are fighter jets.
Ah, they are fighter jets. Okay.
But Canada, even though you say that you are having Russia kind of as your neighbor, it's also kind of when there are like the Pacific Ocean between you, and a land invasion is really hard to fight on a different continent. I don't think that has even been attempted that often. But Canada is having a really good advantage on who is there with them. Like even USA with George W. Bush is going to be more reliable than Russia with
anyone.
Yeah.
Whoever there might be.
Yeah, and before that our defense minister was Elizabeth Rehn. That was some time ago, and she was a woman, so we have had and actually like our finance minister, or the Finnish finance minister, almost flunked the shortest possible
examination test.
In mathematics. And so we are not having the greatest luck with our ministers or
Kevin O'Leary, you are dead to me.
And Vernon Back's USA has taken your best dragons to Shark Tank. Yeah, Mr. Wonderful is wonderful. That's what we think when we are thinking about Canada. We are thinking that Canadians are just like Mr. Wonderful.
I don't care about nature. Just does it make any money for me? Yeah, maybe seen an episode or two.
Maybe.
Yeah. But Kauri's getting rid of our politics and he just wants us to play poker. But
It's actually,
are.
on the 450, we are probably like the highest sacks there are, and we are constantly clashing with each other. And that's unfortunate when we had an option against...
Can it be any worse?
Yeah, we wouldn't have a great draw here. We are now have like second nut flush, so that's not too shabby.
Alexander Daigolang coming and kill everybody. So he was some kind of hockey player, right? Did I get that right?
He was going to be the next great hockey player in a draft long time ago.
So, like a nobody then?
He was the number one selection in an NHL draft. Like I think in 2000 or 89 or 88 or 2001. But he never got the pieces working together in the NHL level. Yeah, Tupe, we are having the Finnish chat as well, so... And that was like... I don't even know. That was probably our third or fourth min cash.
Yeah, our kings got busted by ace queen, hitting 2 queens on the flop and ace on a turn. That's kinda running bad.
And I'm not thinking that we are going to get much farther here as well, because when he's calling, his range is going to be beating our...
But he's a noob. It can be anything. Ace 9, ace 9, ace 9, please.
8s, 9s, 7s.
Oh. Wrong side of the 10. No, we are not speaking hockey anymore. The Olympics are over.
Oh, that was the reason why we could speak hockey in here.
Yeah, and that was the only reason I allowed you to speak hockey. Because it's only about me allowing you to speak a hockey theme.
It's soon going to be playoffs time in the Finnish Hockey League. It's just 2 games more for every team. Hoitu, we are having an English chat as well, so our Finnish chat as well, so perhaps you should try to move on to the Finnish chat.
there's another Godfatty that might be a wreck with that kind of number next to its name.
How about the Vancouver Canucks dumping Luongo? That's actually interesting. When Canucks dumped Luongo on the trade deadline, and I think that like Luongo's problem was that the contract he made, it was a really good contract by the CBA that was in place before, or when the contract was drawn. But after that they did it, they redid it and they punished the contracts like the Luongos. And when they did punish contracts like Luongos, then Luongos contract became a burden. And if I remember it correctly, Canucks took if Luongo quits before the contract is over, Canucks is going to pay for the amount that gets there, and I think that was like the greatest risk with Luongo's contract. And when that was the greatest risk, I don't think that like Canucks got rid of any risk, and some hockey goalies are still playing at a good level when they are the age that Luongo is, and usually I think the goalies will last longer than most players. So I would think that if Luongo would have been dealt 1 year sooner and they would have retained Corey Snyder, that would have been better. And now I don't understand the deal they made.
We have a final table. Who wanted
Final table!
Not us, but who else? The first final table of the evening. Well, Korpisoturi, I think it's annoying that any YouTube video gets more views than ours.
With the jacks here, when we are having the jack of clubs, I think we are going to be good enough of the time that it makes the shove profitable. It's one of those annoying spots that you are raising small with jacks and then someone just calls. And Mike Chilis, the GM of Canucks, will be fired soon. I wouldn't be surprised. And Canucks will have problems when Sedins are getting older, and their team isn't going to be as good as it should be. But I don't think that it matters in Vancouver that much, like somewhere like in Florida or Tampa Bay, people are only watching the games if the team is winning. But in Vancouver, I think that the arena will be full pretty much, and all the season tickets are sold well ahead of schedule, even though the team would be horrible. I think even Edmonton Oilers that are horribly incompetent for anything, I think even Edmonton Oilers are still having a lot of viewers and they are not in financial troubles, even though they have just pretty much been sucking for the last decade. Nope, haven't been watching the Jason Somerville's YouTube series. And Kyberi, it's going to be harder for me to sell shares of these coachings because I can't use the transfer mechanisms available for PokerStars. And that makes getting money and sending money away makes it harder, so it's going to be it's not as good as an option as it has been for the Finnish side of things.
And since there's already 2 evenings that have a possibility to buy shares, I don't know if there's enough interest for the 3rd evening to compete with all the other evenings. I think that probably wouldn't be very fair at this time, at least.
But I'm a bit unsure on where Canucks should be going. Like, and they are having decent players. They have had decent results, and they are not horribly old. And settings are still really workable, in workable condition. And they are still having a decent core running, so it's not like in Buffalo or that you are just blow it all up and rebuild, and that makes it a bit hard. And Virpa, any highlights of the night so far? We are on the first final table of the night, and it has just taken us 3.5 hours to get there. We have been doing at least 3 min caches today, might be even 4, so we haven't had the best of nights, but we are hoping that we'll improve.
And now is our chance with 2 kings on our hand.
I'm so afraid because we have lost a ton of tables with kings today.
And with some other hands, unfortunately, but there's still time to move along and see new hands and new tables and win some money.
Horrible. We got a call and then we got a shove of Blanche Paul, and I don't think that we can do a lot here. If we are calling, then we are not getting the position advantage that we should get, and he's going to have a good spot there to shove, because I'm going to be risking my money against him as well, so it's going to be hard for me to call anything. And Virpa, yes, that's a regular speed 1, so you can see here how the price pool works out. And the regular speed ones we have been trying to include, because usually they are really hard to include in any schedule. But today, when we are just concentrating on the 180-mans, we are having decent opportunity to play the normal speed ones as well. And we got a horrible first table on the $35 game.
And Kuuba, shame on you. We just declared that we are always here, all of us, we are pro-sub. So no other comments are allowed.
And now we are on chip lead on this 450.
Yeah, surprisingly we won the previous pot, the big pot we were in.
And on the hockey, because we haven't talked about hockey, I think it's really interesting that the best teams this year are coming from the Western Conference. But I don't think that the Western Conference teams are having the best chance of winning the Stanley Cup, because the playoffs will be brutal in the Western Conference. There are at least 6 teams that are nasty teams to play against in the Western Conference playoffs, and in the Eastern Conference playoffs you can pretty much just like say that Boston or Pittsburgh will be the team and the other teams are going to be little more than stopgaps.
And even Yuri Gagarin went to space with a Saab. Yay! You can do whatever you want with a Saab. It will stand everything. As long as it's turbo. Oh dear.
I think it's going to be interesting here when we are seeing that the aggressive players on the table are having large stacks, and I'm liking the situation a bit because these players here on my right, they all seem pretty passive, and I think there are a few people on this side as well that I can steal from, and the players that I don't want to play against are on the other side of the screen completely. I think this is quite optimal for me that I'm minimizing the possibility of clashing with the most aggressive players. And Vernon backs actually St. Louis with the trade deadline deals with receiving Steve Ott and Ryan Miller. They are probably the best team at the moment. But St. Louis is going to have a horrible way to the finals because they will probably be playing something like Minnesota in the first round, and then they will be playing during the next round they are playing something like Los Angeles, and on the third round there will be probably Chicago or Anaheim, and I think it's going to take its toll. There will be a lot of guys that are getting injured, and there will be a lot of games required to go through it. And I think the St. Louis Blues is probably the best team right now, but still not the favorite in winning the Stanley Cup. I think Boston is probably having the best chance in winning because their way to the finals is going to be way easier. On the Eastern Conference, I think that there are practically 6 teams that are having a chance to be in the Stanley Cup finals. St. Louis Blues, then there are also Anaheim, Chicago, San Jose, Los Angeles Kings, and all of the teams are built in a way that will be, all of the top teams in the East or in the West are built in a way that will be nasty to play in the playoffs. And Vernon backs, it's going to be like that for every team though. It's going to be only same for every team in the Western Conference. It's going to be way easier for the Eastern Conference teams.
A bit too much action. I was surprised that you opened that early with that hand.
I think I was on the... Oh wow.
Indeed. Oh wow.
I'm getting really spooky with when I'm having too much chips here, when we are having like 30 big blinds effectively.
So it's a good thing that I remind you that slow down, don't play every hand, and be excited when you are talking about hockey and playing with many chips.
And I think that Pittsburgh and Boston, Pittsburgh got what they need. Like now Pittsburgh has like really good 2 lines and probably the best number 1 power play. They are having defensemen that can open up the game, but they are having horrible bottom 2 lines, like probably the worst in the NHL. And the Pittsburgh Penguins now got 2 good players to the third or fourth line, and I think that increased their chances. But also for Pittsburgh, their number or their backup goalie isn't going to be that good, and Fleury can have a nervous breakdown at any moment. So I think that Boston still has an edge.
Who is having a nervous breakdown and why?
Marc-Andre Fleury, the goalie of Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah, for a second I thought you were talking about ice cream.
And Vernon Baxmark, Fleury has been playing decent, but it has always been the playoffs that have been the problem. And Kauris is Kauris offering a bet on which team will win the Stanley Cup? Because Montreal is one team that I think is not going to be the one to win it this year.
Is Crosby overrated?
I think he's the best player in the game at the moment. But that's just my opinion. It's like, if you are the best player in the game, can you be overrated?
I just remember some pictures I saw from the Olympic times about Crosby and Selänne, and that wasn't very flattering. I don't know if you saw those.
And Ulos Pro is calling even when he doesn't know the odds on. Or the bet that if someone is going to bet that Montreal is going to be Stanley Cup champion, I think that you need to call that, so. And Ulos Pro at Koivu going back to Montreal for Vanek is going to be something that's going to be completely out of thin air, because Montreal cannot sell Vanek anymore because they bought Vanek from trade deadline, and this is going to be the last contract year. So Vanek would need to re-sign before they could get him. And they wouldn't be re-signing him to sell him to Anaheim. And Wernbach says that Crosby is the best player ever. That put him in the Gretzky era and he would score more points. I think that's part of the problem, because now the players are bigger, stronger, faster, they are better trained, they are playing against better defensemen, they are playing against better goalies. That I think if you are putting most of today's top 10 players, like someone like Joe Thornton is going to be in the Gretzky era, is going to be making more points than Gretzky. But I don't think that you can compare the eras in a way that you can compare how close the closest competition has been, and Gretzky has shown that he was really ahead of his peers during the time, and Crosby hasn't been that far ahead. You lost, bro. I remember that Vanek did get to Montreal. Vanek did get to Montreal on the trade deadline. And I think that Kauris said on the Finnish side of things that Montreal would be trading Vanek to Koivu. That's what I remember. And I thought that you were referring to that as well, that when you said about Koivu not getting back to Montreal, but I might be remembering it wrong as well. And Kauris, that's what rentals do. They play the rest of the season and then they go away.
I'm just so out of this conversation. Been for a while and will be for the rest of the evening. But if you get it now out of your system and that's it, then okay, go for it.
But you'll see that when we are talking a bit about hockey, then we are having our chat brrn, going on like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah. You can keep on talking about hockey as long as it's not affecting badly on your games, that you're getting too distracted. And then I'm just trying to remind you that maybe you shouldn't open 9-8 suited from UTG all the time.
I think that's pretty much selling me short as well. I haven't been opening it all the time, just once.
Yeah, and you're still in the game, so that's good.
And we are four-handed here, and I hope to get more money in so that we could shove the river. And actually, betting more than 1,350 is stupid there, because if I bet 1 through 350, then Bad Bogdan getting it in would be reopening the betting, and that would be really important, because then we could shove as well with most likely the best hand.
Yeah, King 9.
And Kauris, we are seeing what Koivu will be doing next season, and I'm thinking that Koivu will be staying in Anaheim or somewhere warm. What's the translation of Tilulilulei? Why would you need to translate it?
It's universal. It must be. It's so pretty. I have no idea. I'm not gonna say that out loud. It sounds like our recent European Eurovision contest.
Actually,
song.
this is something that probably should have been shoving there. And now there are YouTube links flying on both directions.
Unfortunately, we cannot open them since we don't know what there's going to be, and we don't want to be breaking any rules for our streaming.
Yeah, that's going to be hard for us for the YouTube links and whatnot. That we are trying to avoid breaking any of the regulations regarding copyright, so that's why we are not including any YouTube videos or not even music, because something like that is not that easy to find. And Igor Doctor has now stepped up his game. And that was the first 3-bet. I'm going to be trying to min raise again. And it's actually starting to be quite hard when the Alfa Romeo has a huge stack and is really active, and that's pretty much the problem. Like in these games, the better players are getting, and he limped pre-flop. Bet the flop I call with 6-9 and he bets again. That's getting myself into a crappy situation on a free play. There will be some diamond draws that have been screwed, but it's going to be really hard for me on the exact bubble to be calling also 3 barrels.
And Vernon Backs, it doesn't matter. You can surely send those links to our chat. It doesn't matter if it's good content for other users.
But we are not playing them live on the broadcast.
Yeah, that's the only thing. So
Yeah.
we cannot see what's going on there and we cannot comment those.
But it's good if there is good content, because it's always being more interesting for the...
So no worries about that. Kauris, what's going on? Eat Pringles.
Eating Pringles, shipping trophies.
Well, it's four-handed at the moment at the final table. Kaleon, unfortunately we don't have any trophies yet, if you're listening, but at the moment we are on our first final table at the moment, and hopefully it will go till the heads up. We'll see.
And like Alfa Romeo, he did limp before, but he didn't fold any of my bets. So I like to leave more space for post-flop moves. Just on a limped spot, it's going to be
Key.
Yeah. And actually now we need to pretty much... I don't think we are going to get value from any kings, so...
Surprise! So his limping range can be anything.
Yeah, and he's not folding pretty much anything of his limping range, so... He's going to be an interesting player to adjust to. It's going to be interesting.
And now it's a four-way pot.
Yeah, four-way pot with...
A crappy hand. Exactly where we didn't want to be.
Yeah, but these are things that happen. And four-way pot when there are four remaining, it's something pretty horrendous. We are having nut flush draw, and we are getting such good odds to call that. With the nines. And just going to be shipping it in. And we are getting a call from the second nut flush.
Awesome.
So now we are good.
So it turned out to be a bit better than I thought.
Yeah, it's something that looks like this is going to be horrible, this is going to be horrible, and then you are saying to yourself that this is going to be. interesting.
Again. Ah.
We are going to be c-betting here. I don't think that his calling range would include that much good stuff, and with 35 crap. If you are thinking that we are having 10 outs and all of the diamonds are good cards for us as well, it's actually 10 outs is a bit overcounting, because now I noticed when we hit one of those outs, we are screwed against queens, and there are some legit queens on his range. It's going to look so weak to fold that. That's probably something that requires later attention.
Tough hand.
Yeah, that's also something that you'll be doing in these 180 mans that are regular speed. That you can see that we are like 40 big blinds deep effectively. So it's going to be, you're going to get into some deep spots in the later stages of the game that you don't really get in turbos. I think in turbos it's maximum is going to be 300, like 15 big blinds deep. That's a similar spot. And now I'm going to move this when it nears the, as it nears the bubble, I'm going to move $160 game there, and when it nears the bubble it's going to be hopefully good. And this is also nearing the bubble. We need to call with king 9, I think, and we are getting dominated. Not the way I thought. Horrible to do a pot odds call, and actually the pot odds call when we are dominated, it's not going to be. Is shipping it on the flop being too spooky? I think it's going to be slightly too spooky. And against the Alfa Romeo, if we are not getting him to fold, then we are going to be calling the medium hands, folding the crappy hands, and then we are going to be 3-betting bigger with the weaker hands. No, not the strongest hands of all. I don't completely agree that the Jack 9-10 flop would hit the opponent's range completely, but check evaluate is going to be probably better there. It was just a spot that's going to be, I think that is going to be ugly no matter what happens there, and of course I made it even more ugly, or even an uglier spot than I thought. And in the $60 game we are going to be calling pretty much anything, and if we are getting the Igor Doctor to fold more than half of his big blinds, we are going to be opening a lot from SP. And Eulos Pro, you don't like my sizing in the ace queen hand. My reasoning for 3-betting larger than usual would be that this Alfa Romeo, we played quite a few hands against him on the third to final table, and in there we had a problem with him that he didn't fold practically any of his hands on the pre-flop. So when he raised from small blind, and he's not likely to fold it, when I'm having a great hand, I want to get it in, or I want to get a lot of stack in with a good hand rather than we got the elimination that we didn't get the big blind, but we are still going in because Jack 9 suited is going to play well enough. And break coffee, you know, there was still one table going on, so. But we are going to get the coffee, the all important coffee and break.